we are going to attempt to predict the future. Andrew Mott, myself, Garrett Price, we are here to take a look at what the first rounds of your Superflex tight end premium dynasty leagues will look like, not in 2025, not in 2026, but 2 years from now in 2027. So this is a really interesting exercise. When Andrew brought this up, I was like, man, this will be interesting, and it might change the way I look at some of these things. So for you, Andrew, how was this process about going about looking at these top 24 guys? How did that go for you?
It's tough, man. I was sitting here we've kind of been talking about this for a week and a half now, and I've been sitting here debating players and names for a week, and it's tough because I'm trying to look very critically at startup drafts right now. You know, how many players over the age of 29 are being drafted in the top 12? How many players over the age of 30 are being drafted in the top 24? And then trying to predict like ranges of outcomes for players. Who's going to rise? Who's going to fall? Who's falling strictly just because of age and maybe not because of production, but we know that the market is going to react differently to a player who's 30 than they are a player who's 25. Like, It is a tough process, but there's a lot of things considered. I'm excited to kind of see your list, talk about it, and get through it, because I think there's probably a chance we have a lot of differences here trying to predict the future 2 years from now.
And I think this is definitely an episode that lends itself to comments like, bro, you didn't put this guy in the top 24? What the heck? Like, he's been producing like a monster. Like, we're going to get that because some people are going to lean more. They've done it. They've proven it. I don't care if I get less time. I definitely want these known assets on my team. Then we're going to get other people that are like, bro, there should not be anyone outside of maybe a quarterback that's like 28. There should not be anyone on this list over the age of 25. Like, why is there anyone on this list that old? So outside of like this rookie class, I'm looking at only college guys. Like, it'll be really interesting to see kind of how just different people feel about this exercise. And that's part of what makes startup drafts interesting. You know, like right now, I love Saquon Barkley, but we've seen going in the top 24 often this offseason. I don't know that I could take him inside the top 24. I'd have a hard time doing that. But I can't blame anybody because he's freaking good. So, you know, that's kind of what makes the world go round as far as this goes. So, Andrew.
I think one of the more interesting things, too, that I tried to do was like try and predict how the market, like the general dynasty community, the market will react to players, and not necessarily like just my own personal takes. Like, obviously my own personal thoughts and takes are included in this,
part of it. Yeah.
But it's like, what habits does the community have to formulate these opinions, or like trying to justify ADP? Because that's the hardest part for me. I could come up with a list of 25 or 30 players that I felt like would all be considered top 24 options next in 2027. But it was like trying to order it and see like, okay, how might the community view these players? That was the toughest part.
And there were even 2 or 3 guys. Like, when I sent you my list, I sent you 26 guys. Like, we're only using 24, but I was like, I had a really hard time not putting these guys in.
I sent you 30.
Yep. So it's fascinating. So, all right, let's go ahead. Let's dig in here, and let's start at 1. Because I think these names will be the least controversial. So let's start at 1, and let's go through. Let's do the top 6 to start. So reminder, this is Superflex, not 1QB. This is Superflex with the small tight end premium. We're not doubling, 2 points
like
for tight ends or anything like that.
Yeah.
Small tight end premium on it. So Andrew, you have the honors. Give me your first 6 guys.
Yeah, you said this might be the least controversial, but I'm going to throw a name in here that's going to, I think, get people riled up.
Oh, my gosh. I love it.
101, Jayden Daniels. 102, Malik Nabers.
Okay.
103, Caleb Williams.
Okay.
104, Drake Maye.
Okay.
105, Jahmyr Smith, wide receiver from Ohio State University. And 106, Ja'Marr Chase. So I have Jeremiah over Ja'Marr Chase in 2027, mainly because Jeremiah will be 21 and Ja'Marr Chase will be 27.
Wow. I love it. I as a Buckeyes fan, I definitely love this. I mean, I watched basically, whether I watched it in real time or after the fact, I watched every game that he played this past year. just a freak of nature. I mean, the closest thing that we've had to Megatron, honestly. I mean, he doesn't have quite the same size, but he's also just crazy fluid for how big he is. So I think that makes a lot of sense. So our top 6 are not crazy different. There's 2 guys that you have in yours that did not make my top 6, but they did make my top 12. So we're not crazy far apart. So first 2 are the exact same. Jayden Daniels, Malik Nabers. I thought those were kind of the easiest ones to be able to just put in there, and like they're already in the first round. They're really freaking good, and they're really young. Like I felt like that was the easiest part. And then I got to 3 and I was like, crap. Ooh, okay, what do we do now? So you had him at 6. I put Ja'Marr Chase at 3. I still think even at age 27, he's still going to be a guy with 4 or 5 years left of really, really high end production. So just knowing what we know about him now, I was willing to leave him there. 4, I have Caleb Williams. So you had him at 3. I have him at 4, not super far off. 5 and 6 is where we see some differences. So at 5, I put Ashton Jeanty. I put him inside the top 6. Look, I get it. I know there's going to be people like, you put him ahead of Bijan. You put him. Well, let's think about the age factor in this. At this point, they're going to be going into their 5th season. They'll be going into their 5th season.
Bijan and Gibbs will be 25, and Jeanty will be 23.
Yeah. So, I mean, that makes a difference. Why has Jonathan Taylor dropped? Yeah, part of it was injuries and things like that, but he's getting a little bit older. These guys naturally just they fall down a little bit. We'll still, or at least I'm bringing them up. We'll see what you have. I will be bringing them up, but they're not there yet. So I have Ashton Jeanty there, and then at 6 I have Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers is, I mean, obviously he's coming off a rookie campaign that was really just incredible, and he's just such a difference maker at the position that, and the community loves him. I mean, he's already in tight end premium leagues. He's a first round pick as well. So I ended up putting Brock Bowers at 6. Where did you, I know we're going to get to it in a second. Do you want to wait to tell me where you have Jeanty and Bowers? Or do you want to tell me now?
Yeah, I can tell you right now. They're 7 and 8. So
so they were
just
right
missed
there.
the cutoff. But I did want to talk a little bit about Ja'Marr Chase just a tiny bit. And the reason why I'm pushing him down the board is not because I don't believe that he's going to be productive. You know, you said you think he's still going to be productive at 27 years old. It's really just when I was diving into current startup drafts and looking at that ADP and player ages and kind of where players are going, the earliest wide receiver that we have coming off of the board in startup drafts right now is AJ Brown, and he's 28 years old. And he's the oldest guy, 28 years or older, still going in the top 3 rounds. Nobody else at the wide receiver position is going there, and he's going at the 309. So I was kind of looking at it, and I'm like, Ja'Marr Chase, 27 years old. He's going to be a year from that. Like, I think he's a better wide receiver than AJ Brown. That's not to discredit AJ Brown.
Sure.
But at 27, we got to start pushing him down the board because the market's naturally going to start pushing him down the board. Because once he gets to 28, 29, if he follows the same pathway in age and ADP trends as AJ Brown, he's going to fall outside of the top 24 quicker. So just a teaser to my list, I guess, here. That's one of the main considerations that I had with these older wide receivers, or I guess guys that are in their prime now that are going to be older in 2027. Justin Jefferson will be 28. CeeDee Lamb will be 28. Amon-Ra will be 27. These guys are naturally pushing their way down my board, not because I don't believe in them as players, but the age and the ADP trends typically show that they're starting to fall a little bit further down boards.
Yeah, no, I think that makes perfect sense. So let's get into 7 through 12. Who do you have in those spots?
Yeah, I mean, looking at your list and my list, when you sent it to me, this is the tier here where I think we have the most discrepancies. We're going to be the most off here.
I love
Brock Bowers and Ashton Jeanty, that was my 7 and 8. But here's where it kind of gets a little bit here's where it gets a little bit crazy. 109, JJ McCarthy for the Minnesota Vikings. He's a first round startup pick for me in 2027, followed by Bo Nix of the Denver Broncos at the 110. Then I have Bijan Robinson at the 111 at 25 years old. And at the 112, I have Marvin Harrison Jr. at 25 years old. And if I remember correctly, that is the only name we have in the same grouping here as Marvin.
I think you're right. So I have Marvin here at 7. I have Marvin Harrison Jr. at 7. Then I have Drake Maye, who he was in your top 6. I have Drake Maye here at 8, which I love that you had him in the top 6, by the way, because I'm a big Drake Maye guy. I feel like I'm always pushing him like higher than other people. So to hear somebody have him higher than me is definitely refreshing, because that does not happen very often. Then it goes Jahmyr Smith, who you also had in your top 6. So basically we kind of switched Ashton Jeanty and Bowers for Drake Maye and Jahmyr Smith is what we did.
Yep.
Then at 11, I ended up putting Jalen Hurts here at 11. Reason being, he's still only going to be what will he be? 29. Yeah, 29. I think he's still going to be young enough and in a good enough ecosystem and offense that I still feel good about him. Yes, I know he's going to be getting up there, but that's the age Patrick Mahomes is right now. Like, so, it's not like it's crazy old. Patrick Mahomes is still considered a first rounder by a lot of people. Sometimes he falls out of the first into the early second, but right in that range, which is kind of where I have him there. I just realized I skipped 10. At 10, I had Drake London. Big Drake London guy. I'm a big fan of his. I'm curious to see where you have him, because I thought he was a lock for top 12. So I'm kind of surprised that he did not end up.
Spoiler, he's 13. So.
13. Okay, he was
yeah, he just missed the cut.
All right, so Drake London at 10. Then Jalen Hurts. I got ahead of myself at 11. And then at 12, I put Omarion Hampton. Big believer in this running back. I think right now we're seeing 2 first-round running backs. With this, we would still have 2 first-round running backs in this kind of model as well, like the situation, like the player, like the team. So, so we'll get to McCarthy, we'll get to Nix, we'll get to Penix, we'll get to some of those guys in a bit here, because I do want to talk about those guys. But actually, you know what? Screw it. Let's talk about him now.
Let's do it. And I feel like I need to defend a Jalen Hurts take a little bit here too. Just give some reasoning behind it.
All right, go ahead and give me your Jalen Hurts thoughts.
Jalen Hurts makes my list. I fade him down the board a tiny bit for some of the younger options like McCarthy, some of the younger options like Bo Nix, because when I'm trying to project Jalen Hurts, it kind of was the same where you said, like, there are older quarterbacks that do kind of fall into the top 24, but Mahomes is currently going, his ADP that I pulled was the 203. So he's, the 15th guy off of the board, and he's going to be 30 this year. So do we believe that Hurts is the same type of player that Patrick Mahomes is at 30 years old based on their play styles? Obviously, Jalen Hurts a little bit more needy on the rushing. That's kind of where his production comes from, is some of the rushing. And then I also really tried to sit here and think about, what are the Philadelphia Eagles going to look like in 2027? A.J. Brown's going to be 30 years old. Saquon Barkley is going to be 30 years old. The offensive line, it's going to be a little bit more not banged up, but pieces are going to be taken away from that offensive line due to age as well.
An older line.
I'm really looking at it, and I'm like, the Eagles are in their prime right now. You want Jalen Hurts right now, but 2 years from now, I could see this team, trending a little bit more towards a rebuilding process where AJ's older, Saquon's older. They're looking for the next pieces to kind of push this forward. And so I think a little bit less rushing from Jalen Hurts, a little bit worse of an offense, 29 years old. There's enough narrative there where I think dynasty managers are going to look at it and say, I'll take the 24-year-old JJ McCarthy. I'll take the 27-year-old Bo Nix if those players are performing well over the next couple of seasons. Obviously, I'm projecting that those two guys play well over the next couple of seasons, but I think there's a narrative there where Hurts gets passed up for younger options because of those things.
That's hilarious, though, to think that Bo Nix will be, he just finished his first year. We're talking about him in the 27-year-old age range, not far off from some of these other guys that we consider like old aged vets.
We just said McCarthy 24 and then Bo Nix 27, same draft class there, by the way.
Same class. So a little bit of a spoiler alert. I trended at the quarterback position to play it a little bit on the safe side overall. Now, I had Drake Maye in there, but I am a big believer in Drake Maye. JJ McCarthy could easily have entered this conversation for me, but I need to see anything. I just haven't seen anything yet. We will, but I haven't gotten to see anything yet. Which is tough because as a prospect, I liked him, but I didn't love him. It's a good offense though, and that makes me feel a little bit better. Bo Nix, I'm not the biggest Bo Nix truther either. Yes, he had an amazing rookie season. Rookie season. You can't take that away from him. Loved what he did. But you look at the big games that he had and the teams that he did it against, they were all bottom tier. Like, he didn't beat anybody good except for he had one game against the Chiefs. Other than that, like everybody else, it was kind of the cupcake ones that he really balled out against, and it really inflated his numbers quite a bit. So I see him as a potential year 2 regression kind of guy, and I don't know that we're going to get the same product. I could be dead wrong. And then Michael Penix, similar to JJ McCarthy. Yeah, we've seen a little bit more out of him, but just not enough for me to feel confident. So if I'm drafting my quarterback, I want to feel really, really secure that I got it right, because I'm using such a high draft pick on him that it makes it really, really difficult for me. So
did Penix make your top 24?
He did not.
Okay, he didn't make mine either. And the reason really is because lack of rushing upside with him and things like that. Like, I think McCarthy and Bo Nix have more rushing upside where it's a little bit more desirable for fantasy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I could defend, because I sat here and I was like, do I have to be the guy that has the Vikings jerseys in the background? I'm throwing JJ McCarthy. Like, I didn't want it. Optically, I didn't want to. But I'm sitting here like picking these players and trying to put them like as if I'm in 2027 drafting. And I'm like, assuming the things that I think will happen.
Sure.
I can't fade McCarthy because I'm afraid to put it out there. So
sure. If it's what you believe, it's what you believe.
It's what I believe. And really, it's the reasoning behind that is I'm with you. I thought JJ McCarthy was a good prospect, not a great prospect, but he landed in probably the best fantasy football situation that anybody could possibly land in. He has enough rushing upside that I think he still gives you some sneaky upside on the ground. And then when I looked at this team very critically, the Minnesota Vikings have set themselves up to really get the best of McCarthy in the next couple of seasons, where Justin Jefferson is under contract through the next 2 years at minimum. Jordan Addison through the next 2 years plus a 5th-year option. Hawkinson is locked up. Brian O'Neill is locked up. Christian Darrisaw, both of his tackles locked up. Will Fry's locked up. Like, they have locked up everything around JJ McCarthy for the next 2 to 4 years. And it's really all in the hands of McCarthy. You are either our franchise guy or you are not. It's really going to come down to you and your talent.
Sure.
The situation, the coaching, everything around you is where it has to be. And I think it is also just over the last 3 years, no matter who has played quarterback for Kevin O'Connell, they've produced top 8 quarterbacks in total fantasy points. So if JJ McCarthy follows the trend, the situation around him stays good, and he does produce top 8 in total quarterbacks, or he's even flirting with top 12, I think his age, the situation around him with the weapons that he has, and the market is going to react pretty heavily to a guy like JJ McCarthy, who's 24, and he's the youngest starting quarterback in the NFL this year. People will react to him pretty heavily. And I think maybe I am, and Rich Dotson maybe is a little bit ahead of the market right now. And it's just, we're projecting this to take off, and not 110% because of McCarthy, but because this ecosystem is set up for success for McCarthy.
No, it makes sense. It totally makes sense. And I can't blame you. And he was definitely on my radar to get in there. I just had a hard time doing it.
I also had to push the QBs up there because in startups, people just really try and grab those quarterbacks early. And so I had to make sure I kind of push them up the board a little bit.
That was part of the reason Jalen moved up for me as well. Like, it's like, who do I want to get in here? I don't, and that's I hit a wall. We'll talk about one guy that at one point was inside my top 12 and then didn't even end up making my top 24, but we'll get to him in a second. If you're ready to take your dynasty team to the next level, I have the perfect deal for you. We are now offering our full bundle, That is everything that we have to offer here at Dynasty Nerds, the GM tool, which not only will let you see how your team looks, but the rest of your league and as many leagues as you have. There's tons of tools inside there, including mock draft tools, trade browsers, trade calculators, looking at the overall league strengths and weaknesses. You'll have it all there. But on top of that, you'll also have our film room that looks at all of our rookies, our nerd score, extra podcasts, everything. And we're giving it away as cheap as we can right now. Up until kickoff of the first game of the NFL season on September 4th, you'll get this for 30% off if you use YouTube30, promo code YouTube30 at checkout. Head to dynastynerds.com right now. Use promo code YouTube30 today. So at 13, I'll go here. At 13, I had TreVeyon Henderson. 14, I had Puka Nacua. 15, Brian Thomas Jr. 16, Jaxon Smith-Njigba. 17, Justin Jefferson. And then 18, another rookie, or at the time will be a rookie, college guy right now, Ryan Williams, wide receiver out of Alabama.
Okay.
So we got our my second rookie in there. And let's start with TreVeyon there. How do you feel about TreVeyon Henderson? He is a guy that fell to the second round. Yeah, I don't know if fell's the right word. That's kind of where people expected him to go, kind of early second round. But everything out of camp, all the reports, everything we've seen in preseason has been, glowing. Is he somebody that cracked your top 24 or no?
He probably should have, and he didn't. He didn't crack my top 24. And honestly, as I look at it, like, he probably should be over a couple of these older wide receivers at the very back end of my second round.
Okay.
But I was trying to kind of use that guideline of current startups. And right now we're seeing about 4 running backs that are being drafted in the top 24 of startups. It's 3 to 4. If guys love Achane in your league, maybe you get 5 because Achane gets pulled up the board. But it was tough for me to try and do that because I still have Jeanty, Bijan, Gibbs. Those are all guys that are going to be in there for me. I have Hampton in there as well. I think he's a player that I just projected more of the workload and in an offense that is more run heavy. I think I said Gibbs. He has Gibbs-like qualities. Henderson is a player that can be super efficient and productive without a full workload.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the more that I'm looking at this, the more I feel bad about not having Henderson in the list because he was in my 30 players that I had, and he's one of the guys that got the cut line.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, give me your 13 through 18 then.
Yeah, 201, Drake London. 202, I had Brian Thomas Jr., so he matched in your range there. 23, I had a college guy as well, but I did not go Ryan Williams. I went Arch Manning, quarterback out of Texas.
Okay, I'm going to get to him in a second, so I'm glad you mentioned him.
204, I had Justin Jefferson. 205, Jahmyr Gibbs, and 206, Puka Nacua. So we had BTJ, Justin Jefferson, and Nacua all in that range there between 13 and 18. But Manning, London, and Gibbs were in mine, and you had London a little bit higher. But yeah, those are the differences.
So Arch Manning was the guy that I was referencing that at one point I had him in the top 12. Mm-hmm. And then he ended up not even being inside my top 24. And it was because I had to go back to kind of the stance that I had taken on McCarthy and Penix and Nix. Like, if I'm going to take that on guys that we've seen more out of them than we have Arch Manning, even though I expect Arch Manning to be very good, he's got incredible bloodlines. The little bit we've seen in college has been really, really solid. Mm-hmm. All of these things line up. We see it all the time where college players, specifically at the quarterback position, we see it other places too, where guys are hyped and they're, they're probably going to be the number 1 overall pick or they're going to be the number 2 overall pick or whatever. And then they just fade into nothingness. Like I remember a couple years ago, it was Sam Howell versus I don't even remember. There was 2 quarterbacks that were like, it'll be one of these 2 guys. What's that?
Malik Willis?
It was even before that. Like it was before their senior season. It was Sam Howell and there was somebody else that were like, one of these 2 guys will be the number 1 overall quarterback.
Was it Matt Corral?
It might have been.
From Ole Miss?
It might have been.
There was a time where before their senior season, I was like, Matt Corral needs to be the next quarterback of the Vikings. And then I was like, by the time that was over, I was like, thank goodness that didn't happen.
Yeah, but remember the hype around TJ Uiagalelei, or however you pronounced it. Like the
Yes.
hype was crazy high around him. 5-star guy.
Yeah, DJ Uiagalelei or whatever. Yeah.
So we do see this, and then there's other guys that they kind of transcend and they just keep going all the way through. Trevor Lawrence kind of got it and went all the way through. Caleb Williams got it and kind of went all the way
Another
through.
guy kind of right now, Nico, from that Tennessee to like he's another guy that was like, he was another guy that was like very highly spoken about as like he's going to be one of the next ones. And it's not really looking like that anymore.
Right. So I would like to have at least had a season in college, like a full season of Arch, to feel comfortable putting him in. But like if I'm penalizing McCarthy and Penix and Nix and guys like this, I didn't feel right about giving that nod to Arch Manning. So that's why he did not make the cut for me.
That makes sense. And see, I'm not doing that because it's like I am projecting. I'm trying to put myself in 2027. So I'm like, we've seen a good season from Arch Manning in college. We've seen the good JJ McCarthy year with Kevin O'Connell. Right. Like, so I'm trying to do that.
Assuming that those things happen.
Assuming, because I think range of outcomes, probability wise, like what is more likely to happen, what is less likely to happen. And I think it's more likely to happen that Arch Manning goes out and has a very good year. So he's a player that I put there. I also kind of just like thought back, Caleb Williams, very highly thought of prospect. And what he was being drafted as is the 101 going to the Chicago Bears in his rookie year. Like he was a guy who flirted with first round draft capital. He was going in that 110 to
Trevor Lawrence did too.
Type of range. Trevor Lawrence did that. So Arch Manning, the bloodline, the last name on the jersey, that's going to just push him up boards in general. But then you think of the production that he has as well. And I think he's another player, like I said, with McCarthy, some rushing upside there that isn't even like the bread and butter of his game, but he has it. And he has more than McCarthy does in my opinion, but you put him there at the 203 for me. I think there's enough to happen. Obviously, I don't know where he's going to go, what team he's playing for, what weapons he has there. But I do think the name, the prospect, the player, the draft capital that I'm projecting, all of it is going to lead to the dynasty market reacting to put him there. And I think a 23-year-old Arch Manning is going to be more desirable in startup drafts than a 29-year-old Jalen Hurts with his aging weapons.
I think there's a real possibility that happens. And see, this is where like the differences in like, and how people will even watch this, the differences. Like, I was like, all right, if I miss, I want to miss with a guy that was in the third round. I don't want to miss with a guy that like we laugh that we considered putting him in 2 years ago. So that was the difference for me, was like, I want to at least make sure that I'm close. I don't want too many players that are like, dude, he's not even drafted yet. Like, or whatever. Like I wanted to miss close. And so maybe I took a few guys that maybe end up being third or fourth round startup picks, but I didn't want too many where it was like, there's no chance we're even close there. So I played it a little more on the conservative side of things.
So overall. You had the two college guys. It was the two receivers, Ryan Williams and Jeremiah. And that's all the college guys in your list.
That's it. That's it for me.
Yep. And I just had Arch and Jeremiah. Ryan Williams was in my player pool. He didn't make the list. And another guy that I had in the player pool, but he was probably the easiest cut from my player pool, was Jeremiah Love. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. That was me too, especially just considering like there's only going to be so many running backs. I had 5 is what I ended up with running back wise.
I had 4.
Okay. So I felt like I doubt there's going to be much more than 5. Like that's on the higher end typically, but I felt good about all 5 that I had in. So yeah, Jeremiah Love, definitely he crossed my mind, but he was an easy one to get rid of.
Yeah. And I was like, if I'm debating, having Henderson here on the cut line, you got to cut Jeremiah.
Yep. Absolutely. All right. Give me your final 6 players that make the top 24 in 2027.
Yeah, we've been talking about him pretty much all video. Jalen Hurts finally shows his face at the 207. There he is. So I couldn't punish him too far. He still lands in my top 24. I got Omarion Hampton at the 208, JSN at the 209, Tetairoa McMillan at the 210. And here's where I think we could have had that TreVeyon Henderson discussion, but Amon-Ra St. Brown makes my list here at the 211. He's 27 years old, so still not at that age where people are really getting punished at the wide receiver position. And then CeeDee Lamb made my list at the 212. I think that might be where Henderson could definitely replace Lamb, because 28, if Dak is, Dak's going to be 32, 33 at that point. What does the team look like?
I think he's already 32.
Is he 32 right now? I thought he was 31.
Yeah. I think he's 32 already.
See, that's the thing. Like, that's the thing. If that's the case, then yeah, Lamb needs to be cut for Henderson, and maybe Henderson makes that 212 cut line. But yeah, I think really looking at this list, though, it was how many of these young guys, because we're kind of in a
he's
bucket.
32 right now.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, Lamb needs to come out, and it's got to be Henderson. So let's just say Henderson's the 212 instead of Lamb.
Fix it in post, Pete. Fix it in post.
Yeah, fix it in post, Pete. But yeah, let's go Henderson to the 212. Lamb's going to get the AJ Brown treatment, where he's still super productive and a very talented wide receiver, but he's 28 and we're going to push him down the board into the third. So yeah, looking at that list, man, it's just the young guys that I think we've seen flashes out of, or I expect to see flashes out of, in Hampton and McMillan. And then you have JSN there. It's just tough to project those players' team outlooks 2 years from now. And there's also a grouping of players here where I think we could really start having conversations about, do we lean the older veteran that's given us production? Guys like Burrow, who's 30, guys like Josh Allen, who's 31. Like, I struggle with Josh Allen very heavily, because he's a player who right now I'm viewing as the undisputed 101 in startup drafts. But at 31 years old, with the rushing upside and some of the things that he has, I just think the market naturally pushes him down the board. And maybe I'm punishing him too much for being 31, but I'm looking at those quarterbacks, and it's tough for a guy who's 31 to crack the top 24. It really doesn't happen that often, just based off of historical trends in startups. So Josh Allen could definitely be the outlier. He's been the outlier his whole career, and he's a dog, but we'll see what happens. That's my list, though.
So I definitely have like the nursing home in the back end of my top 24 here. Like, all of these guys except one dude by that point will be relatively old. Like, they're not actually, right. It's not like I have today's version of Devontae Adams in there or anything like that. But
right.
Here's who I have last 6 picks. So at 19th overall, I got Bijan Robinson. At 20, I put Justin Herbert there. He'll be about the same age as
29
as Jalen Hurts there. 21, I have Tet McMillan.
Yep.
He was the one like younger guy that I did sneak in there. 22, Amon-Ra St. Brown. 23, I did do it. I put Josh Allen in at 23. He snuck in.
Okay, so it comes in 211, huh?
Yep, 211. Yep, just snuck in. And then the last pick is Jahmyr Gibbs, the final pick there. I tried really hard to get Trey McBride in there. And I think that's almost similar to like how you feel about TreVeyon Henderson. I'm like, I really wanted to get Trey McBride in there. I feel like he should be in there, but I just couldn't figure out how to get him in.
Yeah. It's a tough range right there, because it's kind of like at that point in the draft, it's like, just pick the guys that you pick your guy, go get your guy right there. Like, who do we think is going to be the guy that performs over the next couple of years? So yeah, it's tough. I think I might have leaned similar how you were leaning on the production and the veteran of some of the QBs. I leaned on that with Lamb, but I think as I said it, I'm like, I'm instantly regretting putting Lamb here. So yeah, this is like the range where it got really tough. I'm interested to have a little bit of a Tetairoa McMillan conversation with you, because we both snuck him in there. And this is a guy who's going in like the 4th round of startups right now. So we have him creeping up pretty significantly. Why do you believe that he's going to be a guy that jumps, those 2 rounds into these elite assets in the next 2 seasons?
I think part of it was looking at the age of some of the other receivers. Like, I didn't end up getting CeeDee Lamb in there. I just barely got Amon-Ra in there. AJ Brown's been long gone by this point. So different things like that. I think just with a lot of really good players aging out, I think naturally moved him up the board a little bit. But I had a hard time because like I did even consider Travis Hunter as a possibility for this, but I didn't feel good about having both Brian Thomas and Travis Hunter in there. So
yes.
I guess I'm kind of showing my hand as to who I think the true 1 on the team will be and the true 2 on the team will be. So that kind of moved him back a little bit. But even just like, it's preseason. You can't take too much out of it. But I had some concerns in his tape about like separation and things like that. But already starting to see like the movement skills and things that have been on display in preseason. He hasn't done anything bonkers or anything like that. But guys sometimes just look like they fit. And he just looks like he fits. It looks natural. It looks smooth. And I think he's going to be a really solid Mike Evans, Drake London type of asset at the next level.
I agree. I really agree. And he's been my favorite wide receiver prospect through this draft cycle. I think his production that he's had at college has been as good as anybody can ask for. And I think a lot of people kind of early on in the draft process were like, yeah, he plays at Arizona. This is also a guy who was recruited to Bama and was recruited to all of these big schools, but he chose to go to Arizona because he wanted to play with his high school quarterback. Like it was a loyalty and a friend type of deal, not necessarily a lack of talent type of deal.
Right.
And I look at him in this offense, and I truly do believe, I said the other day on the preseason takeaways from week 1 that I made on this channel, it truly does feel like Tetairoa McMillan is going to be one of these guys where at the end of the year, we're looking at him and we're looking at these historical seasons from wide receivers at the rookie during their rookie years and looking at targets specifically. Guys like Garrett Wilson, who saw 130 plus targets, guys like OBJ, who are seeing these, 130 plus targets as well. Like, I think McMillan starts to look at the end of the year like he's going to join that list. I think he's a player that could see 120, 130 plus targets as a rookie. And obviously going to be a guy who's a big red zone threat for this team. Obviously going to be a guy who's a big part of their passing game offense. We don't necessarily expect the Panthers to be a team that's playing with a lead that often either. They're going to have to throw the football. If he stays healthy, I just don't really see a range of outcomes for McMillan where he's not rising up boards by the end of his rookie season. And then if he does it again a second time, I mean, that's very easily why you would have him in the top 24. So I agree with you there.
Absolutely. Well, guys, that wraps up our predictions of the 2027 first 2 rounds. Drop in the comments below. What players did we miss on? What players did we get absolutely right? Did we lean too prospect heavy, too veteran heavy? I'm curious. I would love to see somebody even put their own top 24 below and just to see how they would go about it. And I'm excited to revisit this in 2 years to see how close were we or how far off were we on a lot of these names, because chances are we'll probably chuckle at a few of the guys like, oh yeah, we thought he was really good and he was just a 1-year wonder, or we hyped him up as a rookie, but we really shouldn't have.
Yeah, we got real good opportunities to laugh at my McCarthy and Nix takes here in just a second, but we'll see if that pans out. Look, I want to tell the people at home too, because I'd second, go try and do the process yourself and just see how hard it is. And it really does give you things to think about. Because I was telling you, Garrett, this has made me think to myself, if I have Josh Allen, and I am, my list, Josh Allen's not making my top 24. Can I tear down a Josh Allen in a trade room and get a Drake Maye, who I have as my number 4 overall player in 2027? Can I get Maye plus a first, plus an extra piece, and start piecing together a dynasty roster that in 2027 has all of these, what I perceive to be potential top 24 assets? It's an interesting thought process. Now, obviously, if you're a strong contender, you're not trading Josh Allen. Don't do that. But if you're on the fence, you're a rebuilder, this definitely gives you some things to think about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. We will be back. Look, if you're watching this, there's probably another new video out. We are dropping new videos basically every day, all kinds of new content coming out. Make sure you've subscribed. Make sure you're liking all the videos as well. It's great and really helps the channel. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you next time.